grow faint, as if I inhaled too many deep breaths. I want you to analyze this sentence. I want you to analyze this sentence and tell me that is not the worst writing you have ever seen in your life. Oh my God, I'm going to wake up the neighbors. Today I'm going to humiliate myself because I review writing from you a lot. However, I have never really reviewed my own writing in this channel. And so many years ago, like 6 years ago from now, about 6 years ago, I wrote this and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And this was actually a rewrite. And so at the time, I wrote a story, it got lost, and it was awful, right? And then I got better, and I wrote another story, and I rewrote the same story, and this is that same story rewritten, and I thought it was the greatest piece of art I've ever seen in my entire life at the time. That is how long time ago it was. And now I have come far enough to realize that even this was 100 times not publishable, okay? The amount of problems with this is awful. So today, we're actually going to do something we do not do often here, which we've never done before, which is review my own writing. Yeah, I'm going to shit on myself. I do that to other people, I should be able to do it to myself. This is a black character known as Christopher Lee. Keep that in mind. I loved Bruce Lee at the time. So Lee has got, that was there, right? Christopher, I was looking for a white name. So I Googled white names. The character is a black teenager who's trying to kill someone. And he hires a homeless guy to do it. And this is that chapter. And his name is Christopher Lee. All right. The shivering homeless clings to the skinny knife as I fail to zip my thoughts. Zip my thoughts? That's the first sign of just someone who is looking deep into a thesaurus or looking for synonyms, because this is not really how you put it naturally. Anyway, we've been on these stairs for ages, he says. He's Seth, by the way. This is the homeless guy, Seth. When is she coming? And this is the girl that's going to get killed. What is a homeless mess doing next to a teenager? Don't worry, he won't kill me. He'll kill, yeah, but that'll be her. Then here is the craziest, weirdest transition ever. So far, I'm not going to commit suicide, okay? But then, boom, here. Murder is like a romantic novel, one where both the groom and the bride eye each other for 90,000 words and never reach a conclusion. In such a novel, I would be the writer because God Almighty knows I can't seem to reach a decisive conclusion. This is the most strange way. This is the most alien way to try to communicate. Okay, the most bizarre way to try to communicate this idea that he is not confident on his, objective to kill this girl. With this homeless guy he has hired who is clinging to the knife. Yeah, it's just the weirdest way to communicate it. It's a bizarre transition. Not to mention, he is not confident or certain would have sufficed. But now we spent so much, we spent about 3 lines. We actually spent 3 lines. 3 lines. 3 bloody lines, okay, on this, trying to communicate this point. And it goes on, which is, it defines the second problem, right? Blood or no blood. Can you help me? Yes, good. This is the voice. This is supposed to be the voice. The character is aware. He knows that you are reading the book. And he calls the reader Detective Mind Leech. However, I haven't really established that this is a memoir or anything, because from the first line you can see that this is more like a first-person thriller story or something like that, which it looks like. But then the character is aware of you, which is an odd transition. So you have an odd transition followed by another odd transition, which is very strange. And then you have, would you slit my throat to save your sister? Which is, maybe I'm posing too much too soon. Yeah. You see, I've been spellbound in a loop of incertitude. This brings us to the third problem with my writing back then, which is not just bad transitions, not just bad similes, not just overwritten, but highly, highly repetitive. And I'm gonna tell you how repetitive this is, because we're going to count how many times he's trying to communicate that he's not confident. In these 2 paragraphs alone, just these 2 paragraphs, I'm gonna show you that I try to communicate that the character is uncertain more than 7 times. First is here, okay? The simile, which is trying to communicate the point. So number 1. Then here he repeats it again. Number 2, decisive conclusion. He can't reach a decisive conclusion. And then he also asks, he explains again, I've been spellbound in a loop of insert followed by 6 months pondering this very question. So that's 3 times trying to communicate the same thing. That's awful. Well, and also that this is overwritten. This is really overwritten. This is trying to have a witty voice, that a character, like a Catcher in the Rye vibe, because at the time, okay, I actually read The Catcher in the Rye and I loved it so much, and I was trying to imitate The Catcher in the Rye. I was just trying to imitate it. And that is why we have all of this, you know, trying to sound clever or witty, or have a unique voice or something like that. Anyway, so 3 times already. And then the character goes on, right? The character goes on. He also communicates a 4th time. If you haven't deduced yet, which you shouldn't have because I didn't wink drop any evidence. Anyway, yeah. I am an unsheathed, a total virgin, both literally and literally. Oh my God, this is so bad. Both literally and literally. Okay, never got my wet type of literally, but more relevant is the other type, the never offed a person type. God, I am so glad. I had written more than 500,000 words ever since I finished this story, which is like 70,000 words. I am so happy I can recognize that this is the most bizarre alien writing. It's just not good. But 4 times, we are now 4 times, he's trying to communicate the character is not confident on his decision. This loop reached critical mass 5 days ago. This is another bad simile. This is another bad simile. This is another terrible bad simile. It seemed trouble-free like a soldier remote control in a soulless drone to turn a whole township of civilians to wreckage. Yeah, it's a bad simile. A qualm still skulked in my head. A qualm is, or a calm, whatever it might be. However you pronounce that, it basically means doubt. So we now have 5 times. 5 times, okay. You also have, but as it crept closer. So this loop reached critical mass 5 days ago. As it crept closer to my coming, as I crept closer to my coming prey. So he's trying to communicate the same information. The 6th time, the doubt beast metastasized in my heart. And now my mind is crawling with this Zeus, whatever this is. I was trying to be artsy. This is what I mean, right? I read The Catcher in the Rye one time, and I convinced I had to become some author or some fancy writer. So this is the 6th time, and this means a monster or whatever it means. It's just like a monster of doubt or a beast of doubt, whatever it is. And then finally, the 7th time, this goblin at the bridge telling me, you are missing a testicle, Mr. Rawboned. So I have tried to communicate the same information 7 times. This is so overwritten, so overbaked. If I keep finding 1,000 words to describe how overwritten this is, it would not describe how overwritten it is. It is so badly, it's just not good word economy. And it gets worse, by the way. I want you to really, really see this one. Eventually they kill the girl, right? And it reaches here. Seth tilts back to her with yes, will do written on his forehead. Forehead? I mean, you mean his face? And then he does it. All the withered, bone-clutched skin outside and the mushy insides grow faint as if I inhaled too many deep breaths. I want you to analyze this sentence. I want you to analyze this sentence and tell me that is not the worst writing you have ever seen in your life. Oh my God, I'm going to wake up the neighbors. This is the worst nonsense I've ever seen in my life. All the withered, bone-clutched skin. Okay, so it is bone-clutched. So we know the variety, the type of skin. First of all, skin clutches to the flesh, but oh my God, I'm not going to correct this guy. I am not going to correct this guy because he's so far up his ass. You go in time and you tell me, if you were to tell me that this is bad writing, I would think you're a hater. Because remember at the time, I read The Catcher in the Rye and I was trying to be an artist and I was fancy and all of that stuff. And so you are not going to convince me, okay? You are not going to convince me that I am a bad writer. And so how can you, you just have to wait someone like that to grow out of it. And I extend my arm, eyes wide and mouth awed. Wait, I shout as if I am trying to grab the Reaper's back so he won't reach out. Again, we're trying to communicate his whatever. Anyway, I change my he sinks the knife in her neck. And you know, the girl finally gets killed. Why does she get killed? I'm not going to tell you so that I can, you know, keep you in suspense. Anyways, next week we're going to do another one of these. This is fun. I love this. I really love this. A fountain of blood jets and paints a red puddle. Her head, body, and soul thrill harmonically as if a 7+ earthquake swept her. Lighting the tender ends of her nerves ablaze. Bro, this is not a sex scene. This is not a sex scene. You're not trying to write erotica. You tell me that this is not straight out of an erotica. You tell me that this is not erotica. Look at this. Her head, body, and soul thrill harmonically as if a 7+ earthquake swept her. I mean, it looks like a black man just mounted a woman and he's raw dogging, lighting the tender ends of her nerves ablaze. Come on! Oh! Oh no! She bandages the wound. Okay! Imagine that this is a sex scene, okay? It's official. This is a sex scene. Imagine this. With her hands as a whimper attempt to hold onto life for a few more ticks, Seth clambers up from her. His knife and blanket spoiled and still holding the cigarette. Okay, the cigarette is important, you know, like the cigarette is like, it's a big thing. The cigarette is big, I swear to God, because it's poisoned and it's gonna kill the homeless guy. Boom, ta-da-ta-tam. So the black Christopher Lee guy kills both the homeless guy and the girl, right? Yeah, because he's a skinny, you know, he can't kill the girl, right? Anyway, this is gold. This is unbelievable. And this overwriting actually continues. Like in here you have, like, for example, he then tears the box and a cloud of steam wafts that smells like the proud child of melted cheese, tomato, mashed dough, and sparks of baker's yeast. Sure, sparks. Yeast. Not sure about that. My stomach gurgles as Lee gulps the slobber foretelling feast orgy. He rubs his hand as he sniffs the steam like a vape pipe. Oh my God. It's so overwritten, so overdone. And look, this is what happens, right? This is what happens when the writer spends far more time in the thesaurus than they spend and trying to pack as much of the awesome words they saw. Because that's what I used to do. I used to open a thesaurus and I used to pack as much of the coolest words I've seen into everything. Anyway, he pinches it and severs a slice. The melted cheese clings to his mother, but of to no avail. Lee then gulps it in one take and it rolls down his throat. This is what I mean. He eats his veins on her temple like slithering hot dogs. like slithering hot dogs as she rubs her chin and her eyes pierce the glass and meet Liz. This is so... Okay. Here, look. You could essentially eliminate all of this. Just say, her eyes pierce the glass and meet Liz. That would be much more concise. We used to play Go every Friday when he was a child, she says. Back then I could, like it's a lot of dialogue, whatever. I hope you understand the problems with this. It's overwritten, I'm repetitive, redundant. And on top of that, it's highly inefficient writing because this story has such a middle syndrome problem. It sags so hard. Saggy middle syndrome. The book of saggy middle syndrome. It is so bad. It is disgusting. So disgustingly bad. Anyhow, next week, there's going to be another one of these. And I hope you took something from this. I hope you laughed. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. By the way, I've been an hour before this, I've been reading, and probably I'm just gonna continue to read for another 20 to 1 hour. Just taking a look at this monstrosity. Have a nice day. I wish great luck for you. Bye bye.